everyone. Welcome back, everyone, to Life Without Limits, where there are no limits to what you can achieve. My name is Joan Kaler. I'm your host, and I am honored and thrilled that you're here listening and watching. This is part 2 of my conversation with Stephanie Raffelock. I hope I pronounced that correctly. She is a prolific writer and poet, and her wisdom is off the charts, let me tell you. So the points that we're going to talk about today, or the next point, is letting y'all know that there is a great creative surge around 55 and beyond that invites you to reclaim, reinvent, or rediscover the artist in your soul. And Stephanie is going to talk about art in an overarching sense, a way of living your life. Stephanie, tell us your wisdom on that.
Oh, it's so odd to kind of hit the threshold of 60.
Yes.
It's like it's its own identity crisis. It's like being a teenager again. When you're a teenager and you go, who am I? It's a great question to ask in one's 60s. And I think that at every stage of one's life, we have to have a new vision. We have to have a vision for how we want to live. So coupled with that vision at this stage of life is this great artistic surge that you and I have talked about before. And it's a remarkable time for a woman because there is this great creative surge. Years ago, there was a guy named Robert Graves. Robert Graves wrote a book called The White Goddess. And The White Goddess, he talked about Maiden Mother Crone. Now, that became kind of a paradigm that seeped into the culture. And I was curious about it. The maiden mother part made sense. But look at the gap between mother and crone. That's way too wide. There's something else in there. Guess what? We're it. Now, I'm out to revision and rewrite Robert Graves' Maiden Mother Crone because that was a man's vision of the summation of a woman's life. And so a woman's vision of the summation of a woman's life is, yes, there is a maiden part, and yes, there is a mother part. But don't put me in the crone category. Put me in this emerging kind of archetype that is creative, that wants to grow in wisdom, that wants to grow in faith. That's what I'm interested in, and that's who we are today.
Beautiful.
This is a new time for women. How we're doing midlife, totally new. I saw Carole King recently on a recording that my husband did. I wish I could say I saw her in person, but my husband recorded Carole King's concert at Hyde Park.
Oh, seriously?
Yes.
Whoa.
He recorded that on the VCR, however that works.
Okay.
And we were watching it, and I realized, oh my gosh, Carole King is 74 years old.
Oh, wow.
There's a great moment in this concert. And she's still got the chops, by the way.
Yes.
Beautiful singer, beautiful songwriter. So there's a point in this concert where on the big screen behind her, the Jumbotron, is a footage of the young Carole King, 28-year-old Carole King, singing, "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman." And the 74-year-old Carole King is on the stage at Hyde Park, and she's looking up at her younger self, and she is singing in harmony with her younger self. And it brought tears to my eyes. And I thought, what a metaphor for what it is to be this age and to be able to look back and see ourselves in a creative new light and sing in harmony with our younger self.
Oh, that's so beautiful, Stephanie.
It's
it just gives
gorgeous.
me chills, you telling that story. And if there's anybody out there who doesn't know who Carole King is, just Google it.
Use the Google machine.
She is an artist for all time.
She is an artist for all time. So there are all kinds of women celebrities like that, whether you're looking at Meryl Streep or you're looking at Ruth Bader Ginsburg, or, there are women everywhere, older women doing great things in the world. At the same time, don't forget the woman next door. Don't forget your girlfriend down the street that just did cycling with a bunch of 30-year-olds. And yes, they all passed her on the trail, but dang, if she didn't complete the course.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Look at the women next door. Look at you starting a podcast 2 years ago. I started a podcast this past year.
Yay!
Yay!
Which is called
Coffee Table
Okay, Coffee Table Wisdom.
Coffee Table Wisdom.
Okay.
Available wherever you get your podcasts. That's the part I like to say.
Miss Stephanie, may I segue into showing everyone that?
Yes.
As long as we're on the topic. Woohoo. Okay. Let's see how good I can get at this. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay, hold that thought 1 second here. No, we're not going to do that quite yet. Okay, go away. I got to get rid of some screens here. Let's get rid of that one. Let's go over to this one. Thank you, world, for your patience while I bring Stephanie up, because you have got to see this. She is amazing. All right. Here we go. La. I love sharing screens. All right. This is Stephanie's podcast, Coffee Table Wisdom. Isn't this cool, everybody? This is also her website, but this is the podcast. And then we're going to go over to the home page. Oh, Stephanie, your husband is so lucky. You are so beautiful inside and out. I love this. When I was reading this last night, we are all connected by our stories. Oh, storytelling is a sacred art. Look at this. She writes, so tell us a little bit about what is, forgive my unknowledge, but the 2019 Indie Publisher of the Year. What is that? What award did you receive?
Publishing is a world that contains it all. We live in the most literate time ever. We have so many people that write. Everybody reads. It's a very literate time. So there are lots and lots of publishers. There are the big publishers like Random House and Simon & Schuster and all that. And there are the smaller independent publishers that often are out of a state like Oregon or Washington or Colorado, small press publishers. They have smaller distribution. And then there are what are called hybrid publishers that kind of combine big time publishing and their distribution channels with a smaller press attitude and business model. So She Writes Press is that. And She Writes Press is a woman's company. It was started by two women, and I am sorry to say I don't know the name of the second one, but Brooke Warner is my publisher. And she gathers together talented women writers from all over the country and sometimes all over the world. And she opens up distribution venues for them so that their books are not just on Amazon, but they're on all kinds of other websites, and they're in Barnes and Noble, and they're in small independent bookstores. And we always like to support the independent publishers because it's a model that is more author-oriented as opposed to more publisher-oriented.
Okay.
And one of the things I love about She Writes Press is that they educate their authors. So not only am I releasing a book through them, but I'm learning about the publishing process. And so I love She Writes Press, and I am proud to be a She Writes Press author.
Wow, that is fantastic. So let's just segue on over here, because I want everybody to see. This is such a delightful little book on aging.
Yes.
Oh, I just feel better when I look at your cover. So, everyone listening to this podcast and watching it, wow. Listening to Stephanie's wisdom, listening to her point of view, her enthusiasm, her positive attitude, her creativity, you can imagine that this book is chock full of wonderful knowledge. So here we go. On Amazon, you can pre-order her book off Amazon right here. So I encourage everyone out there to support Stephanie because we need her. We need her. We need her book. And you can, with this podcast and her book, you can have daily inspiration as you find your creativity. All right. So, hey, we have it. Whatever age we are after menopause, we have it. Let's use it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the website for a moment here. And then the blog, because such a beautiful site. Stephanie, I admire you so much. That's my one weakness that I'm working on is writing. Oh, so you are an inspiration to me for
Well,
sure.
we all have a story to tell, don't we?
Yes, we do. And
We're connected by our stories, and we all have a story to tell.
Oh, that is so cool. So I'm going to come back to you. Ta-da! Here we go. That's what aging is all about. Aging is not about, oh my gosh, I'm getting older, I'm falling apart, or all the what ifs. So many women. Some of my younger clients, of course, at this stage, everybody's younger than I am.
I was going to say.
But they all go, my mother, and she has this anxiety and that anxiety, and she's taking all this medication. And I go, oh my goodness, how old is she? And they go, oh, she's 59, she's 60, she's 61. And I go, ah! I just feel my heart goes out to her and her family. That's so sad because sometimes women get stuck.
Right. I mean, we all get stuck in life in certain places at certain times. I just think that we're slightly more vulnerable in this older part of life to get stuck. So we need to remember that attitude, adaptability, and activity are the things we want to cultivate on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Attitude of gratitude, attitudes about appreciation. Adaptability is a big one because you do have challenges as you get older as far as what you can do. So it's not that you should stop doing things, but you need to adapt. As a young woman, I ran. I have a back now that doesn't take that kind of pounding.
Okay.
That running, but that doesn't mean that I have to stop. So now I hike, I walk,
nice.
I power walk. That's
cool.
The adaptive place. I was at a yoga retreat not that long ago, and I realized it's more and more difficult for me to sit without back support. I have a congenital scoliosis that I've dealt with most of my life. Mm-hmm. But I didn't want to stop doing yoga. So instead of going, well, I can't do this, I'm going to leave it, I went to the person who put the retreat together and I said, next time, let's have a little section for chair yoga. Beautiful. Because I can sit and do my meditations and do the postures in the chair. And then if I have a mat in front of me, I can do a lot of mat work. Mm-hmm. It's just the sitting, the knees aren't as cooperative as they used to be when it comes to sitting in a lotus position. But why should I stop? Why not just adapt? Yes. So adaptability is a big one. And then, of course, activity. It's like you want to be active mentally, physically, and spiritually. Certainly mentally, we've used the word curiosity a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And curiosity and wanting to know more about the world and wanting to learn things and wanting to engage with people of all ages, that's activity. But also active in one's heart. This is the time of life when you really need a dragon heart. That heart that's open to the world, that heart that says, I'm going to work at being kind because that's my vision this point in life. My vision used to be about accomplishments and goals, but now my vision is about what kind of person do I want to be for the rest of my life? I want to be a kind person. I want to be a woman that lifts other women up. I want to be someone that inspires other people to be their best and do their best. That's the vision. That's part of activity too. That's the heart, spiritual part of activity. And then the spiritual part, I think, of activity by itself is making peace with the fact that this life is finite and that what awaits us is death that is shrouded in a mystery, but it's a sacred mystery. And birth and death, those are the bookends of being here. And it's a sacred time. It's a sacred passage. It's not really to be feared. It's to realize that we're going to merge with the stardust from which we came. That's a beautiful thought to hold. So we need to hold those thoughts for ourselves or practice lying in bed at night. If I was totally alone and this was my last breath, could I say thank you? What a remarkable life. What remarkable things I learned. Look at all those screw-ups I survived in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s that made me a better person, that textured my heart to be more compassionate. What a remarkable time to look at the horizon upon which eternity lingers and go, that's where I'm headed.
Wow. Oh my gosh, this podcast better go viral. Please, everyone, share Stephanie with not someone you love. Share this podcast with your organization. Share this with your friends. I'm for once, I know you'll all find this hard to believe. For once, I'm almost speechless. So beautifully, beautifully said, Stephanie. Your eyes sparkle. Your soul sparkles. You are amazing.
That's the power of vision in one's older life. Hold a vision for yourself. Write it down. Claim it.
Claim it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So everyone, what's your vision for yourself? Go claim it.
Yeah.
I'm claiming this podcast is heard around the world and that everybody buys Stephanie's book, listens to her podcast, and I help more people. So we are going to claim that. Oh, I'm going to continue to breathe somehow the rest of the day. You are an incredible soul, Stephanie Raffelock. I'm so glad that I actually paid attention to the email that I got. Thank you, Miss Christina. You're out there for bringing
Christina Russell, my agent. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing us together, because I usually go, yeah. And then I decided to pay attention to her email and look at this gift. You are a gift, Stephanie. Truly. Your wisdom is phenomenal. Is there anything else that you want to tell the world?
Well, let's see. I made some notes.
Of course you did. Claim it.
Oh, well, we talked about vision.
Yes.
Let's talk about reclamation.
Okay.
I think that 160s and 170s is a great time to reclaim those things, those parts of ourselves that we left behind in order to live the responsible and obliged life. Because, I wanted to be a writer, and then I got married, and marriage has its demands to it. You've got to pay your mortgage, you've got to earn a living, you've got to do all those things. It's not like your 20s where you can surf on Topanga Beach every day and go home and write poetry at night, and it's like, oh, I'll get by, I'll pick up some different shifts, waiting tables, right? it's a little different. So oftentimes when we're aging, we find things that, God, I used to love that. I used to love that thing in my life. For my husband, it was music. He was a practicing chiropractor and acupuncturist throughout his career. He now does nutritional formulations for a couple of companies. So every night after dinner, this guy who stayed in his head and was a scientist and studied and whatnot, he goes upstairs and he plays the bass. Because he used to play the bass when he was a kid and when he was in school. And then bass kind of fell by the wayside because he had to make it through school, and then he had to make it through acupuncture school and all those different things. He's reclaimed that part of himself. He's reclaimed the musician in him. And now, because of the magic of the internet, he can plug in just about any band and play bass along with them. So I like to say, oh yeah, my husband's playing with the Eagles tonight. So for me, reclamation was all about writing. And I wanted to write for years and years. Part of it was I didn't feel like I was smart enough. That's one of those unfortunate things that we do to each other or do to ourselves at a younger age, is we start to believe these myths about, well, maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm not good enough to do this. I went to college a little later in life. I majored in creative writing and poetics, and I dabbled in it and got a few things published here and there. But it wasn't until I was in my 60s that I kind of went, boy, it's now or never. I either claim this as my own and I do it, and I do it in earnest, or the opportunity is going to pass me by. That's one of the cool parts about being older. Those things that we reclaim, it's like it is a now or never moment. And sometimes that's all the impetus we need.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So stop putting off, people, whatever you've been putting off, and reclaim it. The time is now.
Time is now, more than ever.
More than ever. Wow. You're married to a chiropractor and an acupuncturist.
Yeah.
Congratulations on
Thank
so
you.
many levels.
Thank you.
Wow. Yes. Reclaim. Folks, today is a day of learning and inspiration from Stephanie. Oh, gosh. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed meeting you, getting to know you, learning about you. I am so excited about the next 40 years.
Yeah. Well, Joan, you are a delight. And of course, I love that word delight because it carries so much in it, you know. But you're so easy to talk to. And I think that, you know, just in interacting with you, I can see how you bring out the best in people.
Oh, you're so kind.
What an amazing gift to be able to do that, to just bring out the best in people.
Well, I tell my clients, I said, I don't guarantee much, but I guarantee you won't be bored. So,
yeah.
And then I always say, with my energy healing, welcome to Joan's World of Weird. Here we go.
Here we go.
So someone will come in, or I'll talk to someone in another country and I'll say, so have you ever had consulting like this before? Have you ever had counseling like this before? They'll go, no. I go, I didn't think so. I'm not your average therapist by any stretch. But it's just a complete joy. And I am blessed because I knew what I wanted to do when I was 15.
Oh.
It took a really long time to get here, but I never gave up because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I just reclaim that every day. And I thank God and everybody who's listening in this world and the next for teaching me, for the gifts that I have, and for teaching me how to use it to help others. And
what a
this
journey.
Podcast, and if somebody's listening, you know who you are, to the person who taught me podcasting. Oh, Stephanie. Oh, I want to talk with you again someday. I learned so much today. People, please contact Stephanie. Buy her book. Listen to her podcast. because remember, there are no limits to what you can achieve, especially in the later years. Stephanie, thank you so much for your time this morning. And to everyone who's listening and watching, make this podcast go viral, please. Share this with someone you love, because this is amazing. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to get through the rest of my day. Okay, but I'll work on it. Stephanie, much love, and thank you so much for all your wisdom and all your inspiration
Much
today.
love to you, Joan, and thank you to you and to your listeners.
Thank you, everybody.